Hi, welcome back to the Switch Show. Maliseh Chinonye, podcaster in chief, here at the Switch Show, and we want to thank you for coming back again to listen to us. Um, a couple of things we want to talk about. The last episode we did was an episode on imposter syndrome and how you feel unworthy or undeserving of certain accolades that come your way. You feel like an imposter, you feel like a fraud, and how it is, I would say, it is a psychological dissociation from the reality of life. And that is one extreme. And I said in that episode that I was going to try to address another extreme. And the second extreme is the main character syndrome. Mind you, both of them are not actually medically diagnosed syndromes. The word syndrome is more or less used to describe a pattern of behavior and a pattern of traits or characteristics common with a certain ideology. I don't know if you feel, but yeah, that's basically why they are called syndromes. It's not like it's clinically diagnosed or anything. But yeah, one of the things about main character syndrome that I wanted to talk about is being the main character essentially. So I'm going to define what it is. Main character syndrome is the idea that in every situation you are the main character in the story of life and everyone else is secondary. Think about it as a first person shooter games. Yeah, you are the lead and every other person is an NPC, a non-player character. So everything you do, you think, or it's a belief that everything you do directly affects the next person. Well, it is not entirely, I don't well, that idea is not entirely wrong because everything you do directly affects someone, but I just want to put a balance. Everything you do directly affects someone, whether you like it or not. Is either people in your immediate surroundings or yourself. Yeah, so every decision and choice has a repercussion, has a consequence, has an effect. So there is nothing that is just, oh, it just happens and there is no effect, there is nothing to it. Basically, to every action there's an equal and opposite reaction, and it's not just specific, it's not just exclusive to physics. It cuts across all aspects of life basically. And the thing about main character syndrome that's imbalance is you don't just think that your actions directly affect others. You think that they make decisions off of your actions, like you're the influencer of everybody basically. It's, how do I say, for example, Superman. The whole Man of Steel is one of my favorite movies of all time, the one of 2013, directed by Zack Snyder. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. Henry Cavill absolutely bodied the Superman role. But you see that the entire movie is revolving around a central character, and that is Superman, Clark Kent, portrayed by Henry Cavill. Same thing goes for Spider Man. The recent one that all the memes came out from, where the three Spider Men walked, Tobey Maguire's Spider Man and Andrew Garfield's Spider Man walked through a portal opened by MJ, Mary Jane, and the three Spider Men united. Basically, you know that the movie is revolving around the character Spider Man, and it is beautiful to relate to see yourself as a superhero. But the thing about it is that many times we stretch it. I know I have. I know I have in many ways. Many times we stretch it, that the theme of everybody's life or everybody's lives would be incomplete without you in it. Essentially, it's you don't see it as a privilege to be a part of someone's life, and vice versa. I mean, it's a privilege to be in their life, and it's also a privilege for them to be in your life. So it flows both ways. But no, you only see it as a privilege, as you only see it as basically they are the privileged ones, or yeah, they are the privileged ones. They have the privilege of coming in contact with you, and many times that leaves you, or leaves us, not you, leaves us in a position of an inflated ego, for a lack of a better word, for lack of better words. It gives us this inflated sense of self. It makes us so full of ourselves that we lose touch of reality. So I mentioned something about imposter syndrome, and I'm going to use the same expression to describe main character syndrome. It is a psychological dissociation from reality. Yeah, it's funny. And one of the things that, while I was doing research for imposter syndrome to know if both of them were clinically diagnosed or not, I came across a video where a pastor was talking about how even when we read the Bible as Christians, we always want to be the main character. Take, for example, Abraham, Jacob, who became Israel, Joseph. We want to be that main character. We want to be the David. We want to be the Daniel. We want to be the Esther. When many times we are the Mordecai, we are the Judah. Even when Judah walked up to his brothers and said, "Yo, let's sell this dude to slavery," instead of keeping him in this space because we intended to end his life and tell our father that, oh, he was mauled by wild animals, let us sell him to these Ishmaelites that are walking to Egypt. Let us sell him for a hefty amount of money. And then Judah sold him. Unbeknownst to him, he was selling him not into slavery, but he was selling him into his will, into God's will for his life. And that ended up being the critical event that preserved the lineage of Judah through which the Messiah, Jesus Christ, came from. So many of us think, oh, I must be the Joseph in the story. Maybe you're the Judah. Have you thought about it? Have you given it thoughts? Maybe you're the Judah. Maybe I'm the Judah. Maybe none of us is the Joseph. Maybe we are all Judahs. Not Judas Iscariot, but Judah, Judah. Maybe we're all Judah. Yeah? And we want to be Peter, we want to be Paul the Apostle, we want to be Barnabas. No, we want to be the mainstream guys, the guys that are front and center of everything. Whereas there are people like Epaphras, like Aquila and Priscilla, like Phoebe, like Epaphroditus, like Onesimus, like Luke. Luke, of course, he wrote a book, but Luke was not one of the original 12. There are various people that acted behind the scenes that contributed to what Christianity is and what we know today as Christianity. That we for this one we call them unsung heroes. People that you don't even know. People that we don't know. They gave their lives for this, but many people just want to be the main guy. There are people that are, sometimes I look at how the world is, and I see that if everybody wants to be a producer, who's going to be the consumer? I mean, sometimes when something like that, when I hear something like that from people who are producers, I'm like, you guys are saying all these things because you guys are already producing. So this one is just cap. You just want us to buy from you. Don't stop using all this balance trash to try and sway us to it doesn't work. But there's truth to it. While everybody is striving to be the entrepreneur, the businessman, the pioneer of something or a new thing, it is important to know that Not everybody would own their own stuff. And as nerve wracking as that reality might be, or as nerve wracking as that reality is many times, it is a truth that we have to accept. Sometimes we are playing a role in someone else's life, someone else that will become mainstream. Have you thought about it? Now, I'm not telling you, I'm not saying this so that you start, how do I put this? I'm not saying this so that you classify your friendships or relationships like, okay, these ones are the ones I'm going to help, in quotes, are the ones that are going to take from my influence, and these are the ones that, since they're already influential, I'll just tag along, and they'll use their influence to bring more influence, to bring more people to me. No, don't do that. Honor your relationships, honor the friendships you have, hold on to the good ones and the great ones that you've been given, and the ones that the people you've come across that have absolutely changed your life. Hold on to them. Fine, you might not talk to them all the time and everything, but check on them, reach out to them, say hi, how are you, what's going on in your life, what's the new, what's the 411, reach out to them basically. But do not think that for the slightest moment that everything in their world revolves around you, because it gives us, like I said, it gives us an inflated sense of self and makes us to lack empathy. And that is one of the points or one of the symptoms of this syndrome. Another thing is you think you are more important than you really are, or overestimate how much your actions matter to other people. And I said this earlier, how you think that everything you do directly affects everybody. You walk into a new city or a new town, and you have this, there's inferiority complex, which is, I want to say, a byproduct, but it more or less walks hand in hand with imposter syndrome. And then there's the superiority complex. You hear people in the West talk about white supremacy and how people of the Caucasian descent have this inflated sense of self because of the color of their skin and all those things. But I'm not here to talk politics. That is just the example that pops up in my head when I think about that. You hear about the patriarchy, for example, how there have been multiple ways of feminism, and with each wave of feminism it's becoming more confusing with each passing day. Many times they are advocating for female rights, and it's a good thing because women are not secondary citizens. They are not second class citizens. They are first class citizens, and so they should be recognized as such, even if they do not take the harder jobs, the ones that require more muscle and more elbow grease. Their contribution to society should not be overlooked. Their contributions to society should not just be glossed over, because the men that are in society today that are putting in the elbow grease were all birthed by women. So women essentially are the original producers, if I was to put it in quotes. They are the reproducers. Men do the planting, women do the carrying for a whole 9 months. That's a lot of time to have, excuse me, to hold another human inside of you. That's a lot. But why did I say all of this? As a man, you are not higher than a woman, and as a woman, you are not higher than a man. There's ever a world where there was ever a world where they rated women higher than men. It's always about the patriarchy and the patriarchy and the patriarchy. That's absolutely silly. But the Bible tells us that either Jew, Gentile, male or female, master, servant, all are equal before the Lord. So God is not looking at the color of your skin. He's not looking at your sex. He's not looking at your ethnicity. He's not looking at your tongue or your height. He's not looking at phenotypical characteristics. He's not looking at any of those things. if he was to look at those things and go according to how the Greeks think, that for you to be a leader, you have to have blue eyes, a pale skin, essentially be of Caucasian descent, that means black people are not fit to rule or to hold any position of leadership, and that is absolutely bollocks. That's completely that's completely unheard of. But before the Lord, all are equal. Yeah, while many people have higher responsibilities or more responsibilities than the other, every single person on earth that believes in the death, burial, resurrection of Jesus and accepted him as Lord and Savior, and by that reason they've given their lives over to him, every single person has the same purpose. Every single one of them that calls on the name of the Lord Jesus Christ has one purpose: to make disciples of nations, to teach Christ and make him known. So whether you are on the most exalted pulpit or sitting down in the most disaster reading pew, you are all equal before the Lord. So cut the crap, cut the whole superior. You're not superior to anyone. Do you get? Cool. You have this distorted view of reality. I've said that already. You ignore or not see the consequences of your behavior. Now, this is that's another thing. It tends to make you. I don't know if I've talked about gaslighting on an episode. I think I have. Because of this inflated sense of self, you start to gaslight, you start virtue signaling, you essentially you start living a life that is not consistent with who you are. Now, I'm not an advocate for low self-esteem. I'm not an advocate for the main character syndrome either. What I advocate for is that people see themselves the way God sees them: loved, cherished, fashioned, formed, created in his image and likeness. That is all I advocate for. That is the number one thing I would always advocate for. Don't see yourself as less, and don't see yourself as on more, to the point where you see yourself at par with God. Okay? You were created in his image and likeness. Fine, you have the ability to exist in two realms, the spiritual and the physical. You have this creative genius inside of you that no other creature on earth, beneath the earth, in whatever realm has. It is enough for you to say, I'm made of God. It is enough for you to hold on to, essentially, and live off. So you're not greater than anyone, and you're also not lesser than anyone. The difference between the pastor on the pulpit and the congregants in the pew is just the pulpit, I would say. In the eyes of God, all that matters is the discipling of nations, winning souls, taking souls away from the snares of hell and delivering them into the kingdom of Jesus. That's basically what matters. Yeah. So yeah, I hope you got a thing or two from this. I hope you got a thing or two. This is an absolutely beautiful episode to record. And yeah, follow us on our socials, like, share, follow on Spotify. Also, I don't know how, I have never come across this, but I don't know if you know that I used to talk about Google Podcasts. This was way back when. Oh, I said something about living the way you're not. So you can go and listen to a very old episode. I was a teenager then. Beyond the Facade. I assure you, you'd love it. It's the first episode on this podcast. It's the very first episode. I assure you, you'd love it. But anyway, back to what I was saying. I used to talk about Google Podcasts. Then Google Podcasts folded, and it was essentially integrated into YouTube Music. And the other day, I was just going through YouTube Music. I saw podcasts. I was like, oh yeah, okay. And I saw the switch show. I was like, oh my god, oh that's cool. Well, I didn't know this, or maybe I did. No, not maybe I knew. I did. I had no idea. So if YouTube Music is your jam, if you've been using Spotify, like I don't want to use Spotify. I want to use something else. If YouTube Music is your jam, fine. We're also on YouTube Music, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, the whole 9 yards. And yeah, I'll see you on the next episode. Flip the switch and illuminate. I love you so much. God bless you.